Hey guys, welcome to episode number 9 of the Viral Nation. We are excited to have you here today. On today's episode, we are going to talk Barn Pros, the final years. We're going to talk about the Dealer of the Week. We have a goggle trick and tip for you today, and we have so much more today in episode number 9 of the Viral Nation.
Wake up at 5 a.m. Gotta be at the track at 10. It's time to ride. All of this anticipation to ride in the Viral Nation.
All right, hey guys, we are here with episode number 9 of the Viral Nation. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Last week's show was great. 17, 18 more people. I mean, every day we're growing just a little bit by little bit, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. The purpose of the show when we started it was to talk a little bit about motocross, talk about things that are happening, talk about Viral Brand goggles, focus on the riders and the people that actually make Viral Brand what it is, and that's you. That's you, the people that buy the goggles and use them and love them, and we got so much big stuff happening. Hopefully here in the next 6-8 months to a year, next year, we're really hoping to get into just continue to grow the brand to a size that I never expected it to get to. It's been pretty awesome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the videos that I've seen online. Obviously no racing this weekend, no Supercross, but we are going to talk about some of the new videos that have just dropped. I don't know if you guys have had an opportunity to check out Alec Hodges' new video, Slay Ground 3, but man, it is awesome. I mean, if you love motorcycles and motocross and just riding, you watch that event, that video, it is just unreal. The stuff that kid's doing on a motorcycle, I mean, backflips and landing into wheelies and huge gaps, and I mean, it is just absolutely epic, and it's cool from the standpoint of the sport of motocross. Starting back in the 60s, leading into the 70s as the sports really started to grow. 80s we went into the stones. 90s we started to blow up on TV. We just keep growing and growing and growing, and now you're into the freestyle and the backflips and all that stuff. And then Hodges takes it to a whole new level, creating this absolute playground at his property that is just super cool. So if you haven't had a chance, take the time to check out the new video from Alex Hodges, that's Slay Ground 3. It is absolutely awesome. We're not getting any promotional money for putting it out there. He doesn't even ride and use our goggles. It's just cool stuff to watch. Something else that I've been doing recently it's been really cool is I went back on YouTube. You can search old videos, and so what I did is I put in 1970 GP racing, and watched over the weekend. I watched a bunch of GP racing from the 70s. I watched the 77 Girling National or Girling GP, which was on, and Graham Noyce, and you had the Russians that were racing, and it was, I mean, think about this. In 1977, the bikes had metal gas tanks, 3 to 4 inches of suspension, double shocks in the rear. They had drum brakes, and those dudes went 45 minutes. They went 45 minutes, and they battled it out. The tracks back then, they didn't have massive machinery and grading equipment and all the stuff that they do today. They had some water hoses, they had natural terrain, and those guys went out there and just went at it for 45 minutes. I mean, it's pretty dang cool. I then watched the 1978 British GP, which was really cool. And actually, that one had the British GP, and then it had the Italian GP. You got a chance to see Heike racing. You got to see Brad Lackey in that one. You got to see DeCoster. You got to see Graham Noyce. You got to see Andrew Mallerby. These are all legends of the early motocross days that set the stage for where we're at today. But again, these guys were going 45-minute motos, and in the looking at the bikes and the tracks. One of the things that you notice about bikes from the 1970s and early 80s, they did not stick to the ground. You were constantly seeing the bikes just hit a braking bump or a kicker, and the bike would just kick completely sideways, and the guys would just be on the gas, kept going. It was super cool. So again, if you have the time, if you love motocross and you want to take some time, go back and I'm gonna put some links down in the bottom down here. But go back and watch some of these videos. One, they're extremely entertaining, right? Two, the style back then was crazy. But when you listen to the riders, man, they don't sound much different than our riders today. So it's pretty cool to see that, to be able to go back and watch those events and then watch today's events as well. So pretty cool. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to get into our Instagram photo of the week. And we have 3 of them this week. We have 3 Instagrams photos of the week. Our 2021 Comp Series Goggle Collection was inspired and designed by Rockstar Energy and a 2019 Nitro World Games Super Hooligan Flat Track Champion, Andy DeBrino. Andy brings his unique design and inspiration with his new Signature Series goggle to the Viral brand for 2021 and beyond. Our 2021 Comp Series goggles has some outstanding features: outriggers, soft flex frame, 50mm sublimated strap, 1 run of non-slip, and the best fit in the industry for any goggle under $40. If you're looking for Viral brand goggles, check out shop.theviralbrand.com or find a dealer near you. Isn't it time you go viral? All right, so the Instagram photos of the week, we're actually going to do 4 Instagram photos of the week because I can't count. So we are going to do 4 Instagram photos of the week. Our first Instagram photo of the week is going to be Gini Pollotta, number 317 out of the Northwest. She rides most of the events around here. She does Woodlands, and she does the PRO series, and she does the Pac West. She races the Riverdale series, and she is part of Moto Monday too as well. She helps out with that show. So Gina, we want to thank you for being part of the Viral Nation and being one of our viral riders. She is our Instagram first photo of the week. Photo of the week number 2 is going to be Jacob Badgley. Jacob is brand new to the team. He signed with us a few weeks ago, just got his new sets of goggles. He'll be trying for Loretta's this year, and does quite a bit of racing all over Washington State, but also California and back east, and does all that stuff. Keep an eye on Jacob. He is an up-and-comer, and we are excited to have him as part of the Viral Nation as well. Next up is Rian Anderson. She rides the GNCCs. Even though her season didn't start out exactly like she wanted it, she put her head down, powered through the entire first GNCC, and you can expect to see better results from her in the next GNCCs coming up here in the future. We also want to thank her for being part of the Viral Nation. So thanks, Ryan. We do love having you on the team. And last but not least, we want to throw a shout out to Josh Garner. Josh is our resident mini factory rider. He is part of the factory YCF team. Rides all of the major mini moto stuff that's all over the country, and is a big part of Viral going into 2021 and beyond. So Josh, again, thanks for being part of the Viral Nation. We love having you on the team. Hey, coming up next, we've got David Hogan, our physio from in Australia, that will be talking Supercross injury updates, and he's coming at you right now.
All right, guys, episode 9. So, g'day, Viral Nation. It's time for the Always Moto injury update. I'm David Hogan, the Australian physiotherapist responsible for the best moto injury content you haven't seen in your social media feed yet. Just search Always Moto in your favorite social media app and then hit follow. But right now, let's jump into the injury updates. So following on from last week's episode, Just going to run through some of the guys that might have had some updates come through during the week, and then if they're going to be, on track for this week's at Daytona. So we've got Alex Martin. He confirmed during the week that it was a concussion. He did have some initial issues post-concussion symptoms with looking at like screens, so his phone, his TV, etc. That's just to do with that focusing ability when you're trying to concentrate and the light that's coming from those screens. And everyone always talks about blue light being an issue. And in a concussion for post symptoms, it is. And so he had to take some time away from that. It was a couple of days, but he said he's doing all good. There hasn't been any update as to whether he's back on the bike and trying to get back in for Daytona. He would still have to pass AMA concussion protocols. And it probably would be a great idea if you took one more week, because it would give him a whole week. We don't have any back-to-backs with, residency races this time around. It's just Daytona, so we'd have a whole nother week if he did need it. So it might be a good idea, but we'll see what happens if he gets anything come through later in the week. Moving on to Jeremy Martin. As we suspected in last episode, Jeremy did dislocate a shoulder. He confirmed that during the week. The interesting part with this injury for Jeremy is that he didn't put a timeline on when he was going to be back in action. So that gives me a little bit of, read between the lines in the update. Is there something going on that he's trying to then conservatively manage, as in just doing some, strengthening exercises in the gym, getting the range of motion back and hoping that it'll all be good? Or is he actually on that, and is that because he's on the borderline of maybe having some damage that needed some surgery done? With dislocated shoulders, you can either basically pop the thing out, and like you would have seen if you've watched any of this supercross or motocross races over the years, guys can pop shoulder out, put it straight back in, and then jump back on the track and keep riding. If that's sometimes happens if it's either just been something that keeps coming out all the time, or it's the first time and it didn't damage anything when it came out. But for Jeremy not to be able to come back quickly, that basically tells us that there's something that is damaged, whether that's the joint lining of the labrum that holds the upper arm into the joint, whether he's actually torn a muscle, done a ligament, something else is going on in there that he's not completely able just to jump back on the bike and go now that it's put back in place. He's got to manage that. So is there an issue for him? Because if there was something big enough and he needed to have surgery recovery time is about 3 to 4 months. Now, if you go forward 3 or 4 months, that basically puts us right at the start of outdoors. So is he trying to manage what he's doing now to avoid surgery and get back for outdoors fully fit, and he won't actually ride Supercross the rest of this year? Or is there a case then too where he does that, but then maybe something goes wrong in 3 or 4 weeks' time when he should be about to be able to get back onto the bike if the conservative management goes well? And if that does go wrong, then does that then mean that, say, his 3 or 4 months goes into midway into the outdoor season? So it's something interesting to watch with Jeremy and to see whether any more updates come through as to, where he's up with his rehab, if he starts getting back on the bike, and if he has any further issues, because it's something that might throw his whole 2021 just completely out the window, basically in the first corner that he rode of a competitive race for 2021. So something interesting to watch there. Move on to Adam Enticknap. So Adam had a crash in the Orlando 2 qualifying, broke a collarbone. He put out a pretty good update. He already had surgery on that collarbone on Monday. And he also had some other checks done. He had some sore ribs, some sore hips, but they're all cleared. So he will be a 4 to 6 week recovery after that surgery on the shoulder, on the collarbone. So he said in his update he'd be aiming for Atlanta, which basically is 6 weeks away. So he's probably going to be aiming to be back on the bike in around 3 or 4 weeks. And then that would give him plenty of time to be ready for Atlanta, all going well, that is. Similarly for Sean Cantrell, he also broke collarbone. He's also had surgery already. He put up a pretty funny, I thought it was funny. He was shirtless with his big bandage on his collarbone from his surgery, but he's shirtless practicing his putting already. So like we already talked about in last week's episode, basically once a a collarbone gets repaired from surgery, it's structurally sound. It's purely down to pain and if there's any swelling in that sort of restricts a little bit of movement. But basically, if you can take the pain, you can get back and do pretty much anything at that point because the collarbone is actually intact and held together by that plate. So he would be pretty much up and about, moving around as best he can, trying to get that thing ready to go. He will probably be on that same sort of timeline as Adam Anticknap, trying to get back for Atlanta. That would at least give him 4 races back this season for Supercross. Some other updates from other riders that have been out for a little while now. So Enzo Lopes actually went out early at Houston. He had a bit of a shoulder issue, as well as he broke his scaphoid. Now, lots of people will hear that scaphoid fracture get thrown around a lot. It's actually basically right in here. So basically that little soft spot in your wrist, it's a small bone in your wrist, but it's very, very important and also somewhat difficult to recover from at times. It can be a little bit slow healing, but in Enzo's case, he is actually basically fit straight into the normal mold. 6 weeks, he's good. He's back on the bike. So hopefully for him, that meant everything went smoothly. So he's going pretty well at this stage and should be back for those East Coast rounds when they resume at Salt Lake later in April. Durant Stapleton, also first round Houston. He broke 4 ribs and 3 compression fractures in the vertebrae. So he had a pretty decent off, but he also 6 weeks back on the bike, which is pretty impressive considering he had multiple fractures. Normal fracture healing time is 4 to 6 weeks, and that's for a regular size, a forearm bone. Smaller bones can sometimes be just closer to that 4 weeks. So fingers, sometimes around 4 weeks. But when you have multiple fractures, usually that sort of creeps out to 6 to 8 weeks as the body's trying to work so hard to repair the multiple sites. But in Durant's case, sounds like he's all good. He's back already 6 weeks in. So pretty good recovery process for him. Maybe he's having some, nice water drinks, some multivitamins or something along the lines to help him going through that recovery process. Something else we saw this week was it was interesting from Zach Osborne. He put out an update about an issue he's been dealing with a bulging disc in his lumbar spine that he indicated was from when he seat bounced the jump during some training practice midweek. And that was before Orlando 2. And when I think about it, he was basically missing in action in Orlando 2. There was nothing really that you saw him. I don't even remember seeing him on the coverage, and his result was, pretty mediocre. And that would explain that situation. So he's probably dealing with a bit of pain, a little bit of restricted movement, just the inability to freely move about on the bike when he's trying to do, different movements to get around the track. In a normal circumstance, a bulging disc, 2 to 4 weeks recovery time, a little bit of anti-inflammatory use, a little bit of maintenance and movement restriction and technique changes, and things will recover. It's just whether the time between when he did it, raced Orlando 2, and then this week that he's had off, or 2 weeks that they've had basically before this Daytona round, is that enough time for him to be back to fully fit? Maybe. He'll definitely be on track, but whether he's actually at full performance or not, we'll have to see what happens with his results after Daytona this weekend. Carson Brown put out an update that his dislocated elbow was actually a reasonably good dislocated elbow, if that makes sense at all to anybody. But basically it means that there was no other damage. So when we pull a joint out and try and put it back in, lots of cases you'll tear the joint lining, you'll tear a ligament, you'll tear a muscle, there'll be something else that goes on. In Carson's case, literally it came out and went back in as cleanly as possible. So hopefully he would be able to be getting back to normal in 2 to 4 weeks, which means by about 4 weeks, he should be back on the bike. Again, his will be a pain thing, a range of motion issue. There'll be some swelling around there. And that's why about 2 weeks, all those things should start to normalize. And if he can feel like he's strong again, he'll be back on the bike. And that would then also put him aiming to be back maybe at Atlanta, if all goes well, being that's 6 weeks away still. Chase Sexton's been out since Houston too. Everybody saw that crash. It was huge. Basically shoulder charged the next jump in the queue. And look, there was minimal updates from Chase and the team in terms of specifically what he did. They just kept saying that he'd be back in 2 weeks and at 2 weeks, and then it kept extending. And he's finally back on the bike. It took him nearly 4 to 5 weeks to get back on. He'll have missed 6 weeks of action in terms of racing time. But there's still nothing confirmed as to what he actually did with that injury. When I initially watched that, I was thinking something along the lines of AC joint separation, or even something to do with his shoulder blade, maybe a small fracture inside the shoulder, which would sort of fit with the timeline that he's gone on. But I'll be curious to see if he gets on the podium in some form and ends up on the TV coverage getting an interview, if one of those TV commentators actually asks us the question, so what did you do to your shoulder? We might actually get some more insight. But for now, we're all left in the dark. But he will be back for Daytona, so that's good news for him. Justin Brayton missed Orlando 2. He had a training crash during the week beforehand, bruised up some ribs, was basically unable to take a deep breath. Didn't say that he actually broke any ribs, just that he was basically sore in his rib cage. Which could mean rib cartilage, could be a fracture, could just be basically that he bruised all the bones and bruised the internal lung, and that was just preventing him from actually expanding the chest to then take a deep breath, which is kind of important if you're going to go and perform athletically on a track and race. So he's taken the week off. He did, encouragingly, he drove that Moto Fight Club car race thing that they did over the weekend, which was good. So hopefully that means he's on the improve. I would expect him, being a previous Daytona winner, he'd be trying to get back out there for this round. Plus, it's a different thing, a different sort of event. They all seem to enjoy doing that one. Jordan Smith. So last week we talked about Jordan in the case that he had a thumb injury that caused him to get weak during that main event and then crash. And then we're talking about a collarbone injury for him. It seems like from his updates, and he's been seen riding on some Instagram stories, both on the Pro Circuit's Instagram feed and on his own, but no official updates, that he's been riding. So that tells me that it's not any fracture. It's probably just another small AC joint sprain or bruising in that area, which means that he's planning to race Daytona, which is good for him. But in Jordan's case, basically he just needs to stay off the ground. He's been a bit of a frequent flyer to the dirt club lately, so not a good thing for him, but he needs to just basically get through this week, and he'll have another week of recovery to try and settle everything down and get some strength in that thumb, because that's probably the issue for him at the moment moving forward. It sounds like he had that issue fairly close to the start of the season, and he might not just be back to full strength in that hand, and so that will be probably an issue for a couple more weeks. And that's the updates that we've got for this week. So what we're trying to do with you guys is use our hashtag on any news that you see posted across the social media feed. So it's hashtag injuries are a part of moto. If you see an update that I've missed, or if you think I got it wrong, I want you to hit me up in the comments below in the YouTube video, or tag me on the post, or shoot me through a DM on Instagram. But that's all we have for this week, Vara Nation. Until next episode.
Hey, David, thanks a lot for coming on with us again, giving us those updates. Awesome to get your perspective on it, and we're excited to hear more from you in next week's episode after the Daytona Supercross.
You've got mail.
All right, we are in mailbag number 3. Now, this is an extension from 2 weeks ago, when we got a request about the BPR project, or Barn Pros Racing, the team that I ran, and wanted to know a little bit more about it. We went through the initial part of this year. We went through the first season, and now we're into season number 16 and 17. That is the year 2016 and 2017, and we're going to wrap it up. But as we got into the 2016, we decided to start Viral Brand Goggles in the prior season. So at the end of 2015, we started working on a goggle, and we had done a bunch of work, did a bunch of testing, and we ended up deciding on this goggle right here. This is what they call an open source goggle, which meant that there were some very similar goggles out there to this goggle. It ran 2 layers of face foam. It ran kind of a stiffer frame. It had some pretty cool graphics on it. Ran a 35 millimeter small strap. We embroidered the strap, so it was a quality strap with 3 runs of non-slip. And we learned a lot from this goggle. This goggle is how everything started. The Supercross team wore these a little bit. We did a lot of testing with these, but we learned a lot from this goggle. We made a lot of mistakes with this goggle. We found some manufacturing errors with this goggle, And it took a lot for us to get this goggle to where we wanted to be, and it's what made us decide to switch to our current goggle. Now, we've had a few iterations of this goggle as well, but this goggle is what we started with. So the team started using this goggle originally. We had Scot Champion, Austin Politelli, and Cole Martinez. And, you know, we just really learned from dirt intrusion issues. We learned about comfort and fit. We learned about lens qualities. We learned a lot of different stuff about with this goggle. The team really gave us a ton of feedback when we were first starting, and it really helped us move down the line. As we started getting into riders, we also started updating our bike packages. So we switched to our engine manufacturer from a different guy to DASA. DASA is kind of the hidden secret in the motocross industry, at least at the supercross level. And DASA gave us just a great motor package. We switched from Dr. D to Bill's Pipes, which was too bad because I really liked Doug Dubach, super great guy, and his product worked really, really well. Unfortunately, we were looking for more support, and the guys over there at Bill's Pipe were just like, hey, we'll help with dyno testing, we'll build hand-built pipes, we'll build hand-built silencers, we'll treat you guys like a full factory team, and away you go. And we really appreciated all the guys down there, Bill at Bill's Pipes, Brandon down there, who just was awesome to work with, and they really just did a great job of helping elevate the entire motor package and exhaust package to the team. In 2015, we had invested in A-kit suspension, the same exact kits that Star Racing was using on their bikes. And so we had the best of the best when it came to suspension. It was air, hand built. Enzo did all the tuning to it. They were the only ones allowed to cut into the suspension. It was a pretty neat program. We would take them down there. They would come out and do testing with us. That was a great program. We had Pro wheel sets. We had first year, I think we had a different bar. We ended up with mica metal bars. We had levers. I mean, we just had everything. The team was well put together, and we went into the season really excited about 2016. Started off, we had some crashes. We had Cole Martinez was doing really well. Champ was doing really well. Politelli was having a few issues, unfortunately, and we were really just trying to kept getting the package going. We increased our pit presence. The look of the team, I think, increased dramatically. It really felt like we were really coming together as a team. Sponsors were really happy, and we kind of started our first behind-the-scenes program. MadCity Media, who helps produce this program, started doing a kind of a behind-the-scenes, not from every round, but for most of the rounds, and really just helped us elevate the season. Cole Martinez, I think, finished 14th or 15th overall for the season that year, and we really just had a lot of fun. But it really gave us way more building blocks to get into 2017. In 2017, we again upped the look of the team. So going into 2017, we brought back Scot Champion, who had done a great job in 2016. And then we brought on Chris Aldridge, and we only decided to have a two-rider team.
Super excited to be with the BPR team this year. My first year with them. Super excited with the team. We're working really good together. Excited for the bike. Being back on Yamahas after quite a few years of being off, but I rode them for most of my career, so back ready to kick some butt this coming year.
Yeah, the biggest thing to overcome is just staying healthy during the whole season. A lot of guys get hurt and it doesn't make for a fun season. So staying healthy and you know, giving it 100% at the same time is the biggest thing.
We wanted to pare the team down a little bit and then really focus on getting some results for the 2017 season. Motul came on board as our bike sponsor for Chris Aldridge's ride. And then we had Ride Motorsports on board, who had been with us the whole time, and they really took over the lead sponsorship for Scot Champion's ride, and it was just a great year. We were supposed to have our new goggles out that year. Unfortunately, there was a huge delay with the goggle itself. Didn't come in time for Supercross, so none of the riders really were able to run this goggle. So they basically ran a different frame than these straps, but gave us a ton of feedback in all the testing that we were doing on the prototypes that we had for this goggle. As the year went on, Champ had some good luck. Unfortunately, Aldridge just had some horrible luck. You know, I got a chance to know Chris a little bit. I'd seen him growing up, racing around the Northwest. Super great kid, super talented. And when he would put his head to it, that kid was faster than anybody on the track. Unfortunately, he just had a ton of stuff go wrong. He had a practice injury right before A1. He was out for a few weeks with a broken collarbone. They plated it, but it took quite a while for him to come back from that. We brought on John Ames at that point, and Ames ended up riding Chris's bike, so we still just had the two riders. As we got towards Seattle, Chris came back, and we made a really solid offer to John Ames to stay with the team for the end of that season, and then our plans were to bring him back for 2018 was the plan. One of John Ames's biggest issues was not talent. That kid is probably one of the most talented riders I think I've ever seen on a motorcycle. His speed, his raw speed, was super impressive, but he had a really bad fitness issue. I mean, he couldn't get through a 6-lap heat race without just completely coming apart at the end of the heat race. And so we got him hooked up with Charles Dow, and he was working with him through the off season. And then John came back and just laid it down at Seattle. And we were super excited going into Utah. And then some stuff happened at Utah. It just ended up not happening. He ended up leaving the team, which was just such a bum deal because he was such a good kid, And he really made a bunch of legwork, or not legwork, but improvements on the fitness side that if he could have just stuck with us, and I think he would have had such a heck of a career. And then we went into Vegas, and we went into Vegas really, obviously, I need to back up. Chris ended up getting hurt at Seattle. He was out for the rest of the season, unfortunately. And we went into Vegas, and we were just super excited about Vegas. We moved Scot Champion up to the 450. He was our only rider that we had there. And the guy went out there and just absolutely laid it down. We built one of the coolest 450s on the track that year. We had our killer Vegas graphics. Scott goes out and puts it in the main event right out of his heat race, or out of his right out of his heat race. And it was just awesome. And seeing Scotty put it into the main event, he went out there and just laid down a super cool main event moto, and it ended our season on just an absolute high note for us. It was pretty cool. We were super excited about coming back in 2018, and just unfortunately, this motocross industry is just a tough industry. And so we weren't able to really put the funding together to come back the way we wanted to and to continue to build the program. We didn't really want to come back in the same as we had been, or even come as a step back. And so Steve and myself kind of really took a look at it and tried to decide what we were going to do. And at that point, we ended up making the decision to call it a year and call the team. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because at that point, Viral was still just kind of a side project for myself and for Steve. And that was in 2017. And going into 2018, we really doubled down with Viral Brand. We actually hired a sales staff inside, put on almost 145, 150 dealers that year, and really started to grow the brand. 2019, we got up to over 200 plus dealers. And then, of course, 2020 hit, and it was just kind of a disaster for 2020. But as you can see, we're still here. We're back for 2021. The team is not here. We in 2020, we helped Chris Howell out and provided him with a couple bikes. We had some easy ups made up for him, and really just kind of dipped our toe back in again. Both Steve and I would like to run a Supercross team again. in the near future. If we can continue to grow viral, if the consumers out there love the brand like we do and continue to help us, then our plan is to give back to the sport, put another Supercross team out there, bring on some good riders, and really start to hit this. And we're hope is that we can do it in 2021, but 2022. But we'll see what happens. Again, that's the Viral Brand story with the BPR team. It was a lot of fun. It was very interesting. I've got a quick story that I think is very funny. In 2017, our 17 year, we brought on Ricky Johnson. And Ricky Johnson, the 7-time Supercross champ, the guy who was just an amazing talent. And I tell people this all the time. People like him are rare. There's a lot of guys with talent, but guys that can win. I mean, he wins in motocross. He wins in Supercross. That guy can win in shopping cart racing. He wins in car racing and in go-karting, and you name it, Ricky Johnson can win in it. And that's a rare commodity in people. A lot of people can be good, and a lot of people can be talented, but that ability to be a winner all the time is something you just don't have. You can be taught winning ways, you can be taught all this stuff, but we brought Ricky onto the team, and he was working with Chris Aldridge, he was working with Scott Champion, he worked with John Ames a little bit. It was just super cool to have him around the pits and get a chance to get to know him a little bit, and it was awesome. I really appreciated it, and to this day, I think it's pretty cool that he helped us out. But he's also kind of a jokester. If you don't know him very well, he has a tendency to be kind of a jokester. And so one of the things about being a team manager is we stood up in the tower. So we were up in the manager's tower, had the headsets on, talking to the mechanics on the track. Johnson would be up in the stands, and he'd be, hey, check out this, or look at this section, or hey, tell Andrew to do this, that, or the other. And he got I was standing about maybe 10 feet from Roger DeCoster, and Johnson gets on the mics and says, hey, tell DeCoster that he sucks on a motorcycle. And I just kind of chuckle. He's like, hey, man, stop being a pussy. Go over there and tell DeCoster that he sucks on a motorcycle. And I was just like, hey, man, well, I don't even know DeCoster. I mean, he's standing there, but I don't really know the guy. And so he just starts banging on me. Finally, I walk over to DeCoster and kind of sheepishly say, hey, I got RJ in my ear, and he wants me to tell you that you suck on a motorcycle. And DeCoster kind of laughs, says something back to me. I tell RJ. RJ starts making fun of me for treating DeCoster different than any other person. And he's like, hey, man, he just gets up and puts his pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. I just thought that was pretty damn funny and a cool little story. Nothing is cooler, I have to say, from a guy that, never was a champion. I didn't getting top 10s. I only got 2 top 10s in my entire career. And to be standing up there with, Brock Glover and Roger DeCoster and Eric Kehoe, and I mean, the who's who of the motocross world. That was an honor. It was pretty cool part of being a team manager for the Barn Pros team. So thanks a lot for listening to our Barn Pros tale. Don't forget that we will have more stories coming up in the future. If you have a question, you want to know something, put it right down here in the comments. We'd love to respond back to you guys. It helps us build our show in the future. I want to thank everyone that has written in so far to us. It really is really cool. We are going to talk to Chris Howell some more. Try to get him back on the show here in the next few weeks to talk about his motorcycle a little bit. It was one of the viewers, Mark, actually wrote that in, asking if we could talk about what Chris has done to his motorcycle to help him be competitive in Supercross. We will talk to him about that hopefully here in the next upcoming episodes. We're not sure when that is. But again, thanks guys for tuning in to this week's mailbag, and we'll look forward to next week's mailbag and see what we got coming at you. This week's Goggle of the Week is actually, we're going to talk about our packaging. The new Viral Brand packaging all comes in clear boxes. You can see the goggle top to bottom, back to front. Gives you the ability to see the foam on the very top. It gives you the ability to see the goggle. And it really does, from the dealer's standpoint, help a ton with sell-through. The goggles have sold through very well to the dealers that now have the new packaging. So we are really excited about our new packaging, our new icon, right? And the new font that we have. Andy DeBrino, as I said before, he brought the packaging to you. If you haven't had a chance to check out our new packaging, head to a dealer near you or go to Viral Brand or shop.theviralbrand.com. Order yourself a new pair of goggles, and you can get yourself some of the new packaging as well. I know that from a consumer standpoint, you're going to throw this packaging away, but from a dealer standpoint, when you pick this goggle up, you can see the goggle inside the box without ever having to open it, which is going to help you decide a lot on whether or not you want to pick this goggle up or not. This goggle also still comes with the 30-day money-back guarantee, which is our best fit challenge. If you don't like the goggle, take it, or if you like the goggle, take it out of the package, put it on your face, go ride for 30 days. If you don't like it, return it for a full refund. Again, at this point, we still have yet to ever have a goggle or one goggle return. So check it out. And this is our goggle of the week. The Comp Series goggle is one of the best entry-level goggles on the market, featuring 50mm strap, outriggers, soft flex frame, 3 layers of face foam, and the best fit guarantee. Take our goggle home, take it to the track, try riding with it for 30 days. If you don't feel it fits or performs as good as any other goggle on the market, return it for a full refund. Isn't it time you join the Viral Nation? Coming up next, we will talk about our Dealer of the Week. This week's Dealer of the Week is Extreme Honda Polaris. They're in Brilliant, Ohio. They are a full-line dealer of Viral brand goggles and have everything that you need in stock. Head over to Brilliant and pick up your Virals today. Isn't it time you join the Viral Nation? Hey, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to episode number 9 of the Viral Nation. We want to thank all of the riders out there, everyone that's been using our product, all the feedback that we've been getting. Special shout out to Josh Garner, Rian Anderson, also to Jacob Badgley, and to Gini Pollotta for being our Instagram photos of the week. Next week, we're going to have a surprise guest. We don't know who he's going to be yet. Well, we know, but you don't know, and we will get that to you. It should be a fun one, and then we will talk Orlando or Daytona. Obviously, next week's will be the Daytona race next weekend, so we're super excited about that. Thanks again for tuning in, and don't forget to come back. Same bat time, same bat station, right here at the Viral Nation.
Waking up